Sharp. We need the authors that you've read all of their books. You may be waiting for the latest one to come out. But once you start, you think, I've got to get the next thing. The next thing this bloke writes, or this woman writes. I need the next thing this person writes. I would say Ian Banks I did that with. Every time Ian Banks went, I haven't read that one yet, I'll get that latest Ian Banks book. So we need those authors. And the books that you laugh out loud at. It's not easy to laugh out loud at writing. It's much easier to laugh out loud at something you hear or see. But laugh out loud funny. When have you been sat on the train or at home and bemused the people around you by suddenly laughing out loud at something that you have read? Okay, so we need the laugh out loud funny books and the books that you read, the authors that you just followed. Got to have the next one of whatever that person writes. 81333. Start your message with the word Wiltshire. 81333 or call 08459 513366. And that'll be our tribute to the now late Tom Sharp, author of Wilt, Blot on the Landscape and Porterhouse Blue, who has died at the age of 85. Now then, at 11 minutes past 10, a military mum from Wiltshire is up for an Innovation Award later this month after she started writing an online diary about her life. Clare Macnaughton started her blog called A Modern Military Mother in 2009. Catalogues her life being married to a man in the RAF and being a mum of two. And quite a life it has been. Let's hear an extract from the book.
The thing about the war in Afghanistan is that it is a violent, feudal battlefield. But life is ordered and structured. Hagar goes to war, and he can focus solely on the job at hand. They eat, sleep, plan, brief, execute, debrief, eat, sleep, and maybe they'll work out. Life is laid out for them in a structured, coordinated manner. Hagar walks into a room to give a brief. The room is silent and listens to what he has to say until he has finished speaking. He takes with him photos of us, his family, in still, poised poses. Good pictures where we are happy, beautiful statues of perfection. He pines and aches for us as he remembers fondly the moments he played dinosaur battles on the living room floor with the Grenade, our 6-year-old son. He imagines me cooking up a warm, homely, veritable feast like a domestic goddess, keeping the home fires burning, laughing gaily as he speaks and celebrating the utopian banter of our perfect marriage. When he returns home, all suntanned, dusty and crunchy from the sand, after the initial moments of euphoria of being reunited are over, normal life kicks in. The memories of his fantasy family are shattered, and he is faced with his real family. The Grenade is whining, eardrum shattering whines, because something that he deemed essential to his very being has been denied to him. The house is chaotic, strewn with toys, dinner is not served, and the bubba is screaming.
Claire lives in the Wiley Valley and joins me now. Hello, Claire.
Hello.
Hello there. I suppose the question, and I guess it's the one you get probably asked the most, and I don't want to deviate from tradition, why start doing this?
Oh, well, I mean, I wrote a book which was published by Penguin about, I ghostwrote it with a Royal Marine Major, and when I did that, I realised that, there was a lot of people wanting to be writers out there. And so what I wanted to do was write in a space where I had complete freedom over my own voice without any editorial control, really.
Mm-hmm. So the blog is a natural way of doing that because you can pretty well write what you want. But why put your life out there for public consumption?
Well, one of the first rules of writing is to write about what you know. And obviously, you know about your life. So if you read anything about, people wanting to break into writing, they always say, start off with a subject that you know about. And also there was a sort of an emergence of this mummy blogger community. And it just seemed natural with having 2 young children that I should sort of find my niche within that, really.
As you say, lots of people lots of mothers do blog about their lives. So there are columnists in all of the papers in which people talk about the details of their life. But why do you think it gets, then, a response? Why do people want to read about other people's, and often very small and sometimes intimate details of other people's lives?
Well, I mean, I think sometimes being at home and raising children can be quite isolating, and it's quite cathartic to sort of share your experiences through blogging. I think that's sort of one of the reasons why you've got a lot of mummy bloggers, because you're kind of children can be delightful, but they can also be a nightmare. And I think people often use it to just unload some of their stresses. So I think on one level that's why. people write. From my perspective, obviously, I have quite a unique life in terms of my husband's role and what he does. So it was quite, and also I was kind of getting sick of people saying, I don't know how you do it, or you must have known what you were getting into before you got married. And I didn't really know what I was getting into before I got married, and sometimes I don't know how I do it as well. So that was how it all sort of started.
So there is that kind of, there's that therapy, that sharing, there's all that kind of stuff. But of course, one of the risks you take in blogging, and blogging personally, is, well, that you're very much a hostage to fortune, that you have to write down and share everything that happens to you, read in tooth and claw. And if I look at your latest blog entry, for example, you described the last 4 years as a roller coaster ride, including a Crown Court trial, a media scandal, an internet stalker, some vile trolls, ostracisation, freedom, some chickens, ducks, pigs, rabbits, friends, family, love, laughter, dancing, drinking, eating, and great beauty. And I am back. You've had to catalogue some pretty traumatic events in your life, including the breakdown of your marriage. Do you feel that you have to do that, because once you've started, you've got to be honest?
Well, I mean, I don't think I have to do anything. I think, you can step off the bus as much as you step on the bus. I haven't catalogued, I have been on and off with it. I have sort of dropped out when I felt that, I don't want to do this, or you do have a certain degree of choice. But I write because I write. I've written since I was 8 years old. It's just that the blog provides a platform with which I communicate that. So my blog isn't always personal as well. I do a lot of reviewing, and so that, I think, I don't know, it has been a bit of a roller coaster. I didn't expect that when I started blogging.
So you don't feel kind of obliged to share all of the gory details of your life?
No,
necessarily.
I don't feel obliged to. No, I choose what I write, and I suppose in a way it's just a bit unusual that I've had such an unexpected turn of events. Really,
indeed. Now, when you, of course, put something out online, you have the freedom to, of course, write more than perhaps you would in a book, because you've got to satisfy a publisher. But, of course, it does expose you, and you mentioned there in that post that I read apart from, some vile trolls and ostracisation and an internet stalker. So it has created problems for you.
Yeah, the internet is a very strange place, because it provides people an opportunity to say things behind masks of anonymity, and I think as a result of that, they tend to say things that perhaps they wouldn't say if you were to meet them face to face. So I think there is an element of the sort of fantasy world of the internet that creates challenges, but I think as you become more aware of the processes and how it works, then you tend to take it less personally. And actually, when I was at Brit Mums Live last year, one of the seminars that I run was about dealing with negative behaviour online and how to do that. So actually, from my perspective, it's been a learning. It's definitely been a learning point in terms of how to. You have a public profile, so on some level, you are subject to scrutiny from people you don't know through your radio show, and you will be protected by your employer, who will then help you manage any negative behaviour. Now, obviously, as I'm an independent, I'm basically an independent publisher, so therefore I have to learn how to negotiate those hurdles as and when they arise.
So how do you deal? What the trolls presumably got onto the blog and said unpleasant things about you and your life?
Well, it wasn't on the blog. It was in these forums. They tend to do it in forums. So you do. I don't look anymore. That's one thing I do.
Yeah, that's always a good. There's a well-known rule in the BBC, for example, which is the equivalent, which is never open a letter that's written in green biro.
Yeah.
You don't have to read these things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I have this very strong "don't feed the trolls" policy. So don't engage with people that are behaving negatively. And because it's a bit like naughty children, really. They're just looking for some form of attention. And if you engage with them, then you are giving them attention and you're sort of encouraging their behaviour. So really the thing to do is to give them a good ignoring. and to move on. And also, I think really negative behaviour online is not a reflection on you, but more of a reflection on the person who is behaving negatively. In the same way that if a child is having a tantrum, it's not a reflection on you as a parent that your child is having a tantrum, it's a reflection on the child that's having a tantrum. And so you have to remove yourself from it. In terms of you can't take responsibility for other people's behaviour. You can only take responsibility for your own behaviour. So really, it's not about how other people conduct themselves. It's about how you conduct yourself.
How do you think then that your children will react to their portrayal? Because they haven't got a choice. That you've got, the grenade, the menace, and you mentioned that the grenade is whining again. How do you think that they are going to react to their mother publishing details about their life?
Well, they're kind of anonymous, aren't they? They're sort of characters. They're characterised rather than... I mean, a lot of my blog is slightly characterised rather than a sort of a date. I'm not a sort of, today we had Cheerios and for lunch we had ham sandwiches type of blogger. So I tend to take moments of their evolution and talk about the challenges of dealing with those situations. I mean, I think they'll think they're quite funny, really. My son, the reason that I've been nominated for the Brit Mums Award is because through the innovation category. So as much as I've run a blog called A Modern Military Mother, from the blog I've just self-published a book through CreateSpace, an Amazon self-publishing platform called A Modern Military Mother, Tales from the Domestic Frontline. I made a pilot TV show called Modern Military Mother TV, which is all about my journey into trying to live more sustainably. And so I've got a column in Salisbury Journal, I write for Wiltshire Life. I've managed to take the blog and turn it into a brand, and I'm now using that brand as a professional journalist, writer, broadcaster, however you want it. So for me, it's the kids are part of that journey. I talk to them, obviously when they were babies and stuff, I don't have, they didn't have permission, but I don't identify them in terms of what they look like or who they are or where they go to school, etc. It's more about challenges that challenges that parents have raising children everywhere. When you're trying to potty train a child, when you're working at home and you're trying to potty train a 2-year-old and run your business, and your husband's in Afghanistan, and your son is at school with his own challenges, and your 2-year-old is randomly pooing around your house, and you're trying to find it because you can smell it. And these are kind of the challenges that most work from home mums experience, regardless of whether they're bloggers or not.
Yeah, I mean, you identify an experience, and I'm sure that plenty of people listening right now just went, yep, yep, yes. Well, I've been on 1, 2, 3 poo hunts, and I'm looking forward to my 4th at the moment. It is something though that once you put it out there, you've got to be, I guess, pretty thick-skinned. If you had to develop a fairly thick skin, because you're the third person in your marriage that you talk about, for example, is the military, and I don't suppose it's always gone down particularly well with them, has it?
Yes, welcome to the understatement of the year. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the military is, the military has a very complex relationship with social media, because on some level they know that it's turning and moving very quickly and they need to be part of it. And on the other hand, they don't really like... Military have very much a very positive policy. So if you say good things about the military, it's okay. And if you want to challenge them in any way whatsoever, they'd rather you didn't. So, yeah, it has been a bit of an interesting journey with the military. I did go down like a pint of cold sick when I started blogging. But we work together. We walk alongside each other now, especially now that I've moved into sort of more mainstream journalism, and the blog's been going for 3 years, and I haven't breached OPSEC and I haven't breached PERSEC, and I follow the guidelines, and so that therefore there's very little they can do about it as well, which is not something they particularly enjoy. But
the military doesn't enjoy things that it can't control. That's welcome to the second biggest understatement of the year.
It's a very command and control based system, and I am a very free thinking individual.
You mentioned, I read an article in the Western Daily Press which quotes you as saying that you self-published and blogged after you were turned down by a publisher because you, quote, weren't very likeable, unquote.
No.
I mean, are you comfortable that you may rub some people up the wrong way with your sort of very direct manner?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting to. I think it's always interesting to create debate. And one of the things when I married my husband, I was very outspoken, and I am a feminist. And as our marriage progressed, he was like, well, I thought you would grow out of it. Like, I thought it was something you just did to wind the officers up at dinner parties, as if it wasn't genuinely really me, as if I'm a feminist because I just do it to wind men up, like for sport. But whereas it's not like that. You have different perspectives and different opinions, and we have a right to be ourselves. And this is the thing that's very challenging. I mean, the publisher. I'm not this kind of Joanna Trollope soldier's wife. I don't make bunting. I can't decorate a cupcake. I am a bit outspoken. I drink too much. I eat too much. I swear too much. I'm a normal person, really. I'm not this kind of domestic idealist. And I think what Shirley Conran said, life's too short to stuff a mushroom.
Indeed, Superwoman. Now, there's a book I haven't read for a very long time. It is. Do you think the military thing? It strikes me is where it started, but your ambitions clearly lie outside of being characterised as a now former military wife and a military mother who hasn't got anything better to do than write about what their children are doing all the time. That you've clearly breach that kind of stereotype, if you like. This is a platform then for you to go on and pursue a much broader career, so that in the end Clare Macnaughton, military mum, will just become a kind of a little tag there that isn't that important.
Well, I come from a marketing communications background. I work in the sport of solo ocean yacht racing, and I have done for many years. And I've just finished working on a yacht race called the Vendée Globe. I was one of the English journalists on that yacht race, and I think I've always been interested in the evolution of brand. And it became very clear to me early on when I ghostwrote Immediate Response with this Royal Marine Major that publishing was evolving from being about writing per se and being about brand, and that there were many authors that were actually ghost written, and that mainstream authors, and I'm not saying that James Patterson is ghost written, but let's say James Patterson, for example, like you said, like we're talking about Tom Sharp. Like nowadays, in publishing, Tom Sharp would be a brand. Mm-hmm. And publishing, there would be an impetus to produce these books that Tom Sharp was writing in this sort of known house style of Tom Sharp. And it would become a factory production line of Tom Sharp type books. And so the authenticity of writing is changing through mass market commercial demand. And that became very clear to me when, Immediate Response did very well. It was a top 10 bestseller. It sold, I think it sold about 30,000 copies. It is a successful book. And yet for me as a writer, I wasn't able to break into writing because it's all about brand. And that is right. Part of this blogging journey as well. It's not just about blogging.
That's the thing. You're very much in your blog and your writing, you're very much sort of, warts and all. This is me. You're not having to try and create a persona, as a lot of people are branded as a particular type of person, and publishers like particular types of people to fit particular types of market. You're doing the most difficult thing, which is to say, actually, this is me as I am, which is is risky, but has integrity.
Well, it's risky, but it's honest, isn't it? And I really believe in honesty in your writing, and I think you get the best writing when you write honestly as well. So I think the most powerful things that you write will have come from people's souls. And I don't like this sort of production line. I don't want to, and I think there's an element of artistic integrity in that I don't just. There's lots of things. I mean, the beauty of the freedom of the digital world is that you can be creative. So I can be an artist. I can be authentic, and I can have integrity in what I do, and I can write honestly. But at the same time, I'm I've got a marketing background, so I can look at the elements of branding and brand identity and how you roll that out. And you know, there are certain things that I'm committed to that I've made these commitments to. You know, I'm looking at living more sustainably at the moment. Like I'm really interested in this concept of consumerism and how we've got contradictions everywhere. So we pay our council tax to recycle packaging that the supermarkets encourage us to buy, and then we're sort of penalised to recycle it.
Now there is a debate that we have had on this programme, the kind of the ever-turning wheels of contradiction about sustainability. Well, I tell you what, Claire, let's leave it at that point and pick it up from that moment next time we speak, as I feel convinced, indeed possibly compelled to do again. But for the moment, Clare Macnaughton, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been great to talk to you. Have a lovely day.
You too. AMModernMilitaryMother.com is the website, AMModernMilitaryMother.com. You'll see links there to, well, the Brilliance in Blogging Finalist that Claire's blog is in the innovation category, and you'll see all the links to the books, Tales from the Domestic Frontline, and the TV show and everything else. AMModernMilitaryMother.com.